What's up, everybody? I've got an hour or so before work, and I have to start telling this story because it's so crazy and interesting. I know it's going to take several videos to get through most of it, but I got to start somewhere. So, I've been talking to my friend at work about Islam. And we've been talking about his story when he was in the military as a translator in Iraq. He's got a lot of people that send him death threats all the time because he's always saying shit about Shia Muslims on Facebook. So, no, I can't use his real name. But I talked to him like maybe I would help him write a book about his life story because it's pretty wild. He was in like an explosion in a Humvee, roadside bomb. They sent guys with AK-47s to his house, shot up his house. He told me a story how his dad died like when he was in Samara. All kinds of like war stories and stuff. But then last night we were talking about like he was in Turkey and he's like, oh, you can't trust people in Turkey. Like we've been talking about, he wanted to go to Colombia on vacation. I'm like, you can't go to Colombia, dude. He's like, why not? Everybody says like you go to there's a nice beach. I'm like, because the drug lords and people are going to try to steal your organs and stuff. And like Nicaragua and El Salvador, you can't go to places like this. Like Venezuela, the communist country is right next door to it. I'm trying to explain all this to him. He's like, well, what do you think's good? Like Paraguay and like Ecuador? And like, we're talking about like, yeah, those would be better if you just go farther south and get into like Buenos Aires maybe or something like that. But don't hang around the Central America because it's dangerous. And he was telling me like, yeah, I went to Turkey and these guys, they gave me these pills and it made my kidneys hurt. And they said, yeah, we need to take you to the doctor and you need to have your kidney taken out. And he's like, oh, I don't know how to think about this. And he left. He's like, they were going to like steal his kidneys and sell them for $10,000. So he's had some crazy experiences. Now, we always talk about politics and religion. It's fun. It's hilarious trying to like figure out each other's cultures. And we get to talking about the difference between Shia and Sunni Muslims, and I've been learning like so much stuff. I have no idea. I'm like deep into it now. I'm like studying it. I'm not becoming religious or anything, but as an atheist, it's really fascinating because atheists always say we just want some kind of evidence that any of these miracles or paranormal, supernatural stuff happened, right? And Islam kind of says they have some stuff. Nobody looks into it. So like, it's out there. This is not really, you can debunk it fairly easily, but at least it's evidence. So like when you say, is there aliens? Is there UFOs? Is there videos of UFOs? There's pictures of aliens. It's not really confirmable evidence, but it's something. With Christianity, there's fucking nothing. They have zip. But he told me the story about in Germany. I don't know why they would even do this in Germany if it was God and he's writing this in Arabic. There is a forest that burned down, a bunch of trees, and the only trees that didn't burn down was these trees. No, that's not it. This was my example of when you're looking for evidence. This is like from the Mitchell and Webb Look TV show where they said, oh, what if you open up a watermelon and said, there is no God in watermelon seeds. This is the kind of evidence we want to see. Something like this, like a clear sign from God, right? So, in Germany, this forest of trees burned down. That's not it either. Fuck, I got these pictures in the wrong order. It looks like this, right? So in Arabic, these letters right here, I forget what they say. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of things. I've been learning like all the things that you say in like God phrases. Like Bismillah means in the name of God. Inshallah means God willing. Alhamdulillah means praise be to God. I think no, that's not it. What's the other one? This says there is no God but Allah in Arabic, and it is La ilaha la illallah. It's like la 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 la. If you just say that, it's pretty much you're saying there's no God but Allah. So it's like a bunch of straight lines, and it's like one that's like cross. So it's like If you got a bunch of trees are just straight lines. And if two of them cross, then you're going to make it say something. Because that's like several of their letters. So it's not that hard to believe that if a bunch of trees burn down... I mean, some of these are real, like, curly-Q looking trees. Like, it looks like some Alice in Wonderland, or like some Wizard of Oz kind of effect. The picture's old, and it's like, it looks a little shady. It doesn't look like a forest burned down either. It looks like there's just some trees there. I don't see where they burned down. Anyway, stories like this. And there's also a story in the Quran where Muhammad, they didn't believe him. These idolaters, they didn't believe that he was a prophet. And they asked him to split the moon in half. And like in Christianity, they would be like, no, God doesn't do tricks. We can't do anything like that. But he was like, oh, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And he did it. And that's what this is. He said, like, I went to look up a picture of the moon to see if there's evidence that the moon was split in half because there would be a crease, right? And I looked up this picture and there's a big crease, but then it turns out this isn't our moon. This is the moon Charon, which is like the one that orbits Pluto and Charon orbit each other, kind of, in the Kuiper Belt or whatever, or near the Kuiper Belt. So if you look at our moon, there's not really any like line that looks like the moon was ever split in half. But there's stuff like that. Another miracle, like I didn't know this about Islam, is like Muhammad like started some shit when he went to Mecca, right? Or the Kaaba stone, where that's at now. And you see guys walking around it in circles. That's to like represent when he went around the temple. There was these idolaters that worshipped idols of stone and wood, and he went around and he broke all these idols. So they're walking in circles like the way he did when he walked around the temple. What was my point? So then, yeah. I was talking about miracles? Yeah, he pissed them all off. And then, like, the thing with the angel Gabriel came down and he gives him the Quran to write down. But he's illiterate, so he has to, like, tell his friends and they write it down for him. That's shitty. He's illiterate, and he married, like, Aisha, which was, like, 6 when he married her. And he had sex with her when she was, like, 9 or 10. And then he cheated on one of his other wives with this slave girl. He had slaves. Like, pretty shady character, this Muhammad guy. And I would get killed for saying this if I was in a Muslim country, perhaps. But the miracles, like Gabriel, comes down, tells him about the Quran, takes him up to heaven on a winged horse, and he meets with the other 24 prophets before him. So anybody who spoke to God is a prophet, right? Talking about like Adam, the first man that God made, he was a prophet because he spoke to God. Noah, because God told him to build the ark, right? I got a list here. All these characters that are in Christianity, they're also in Islam. Islam is kind of like Mormonism times 1,000, because Mormonism, you have Moroni, the angel comes down, talks to Joseph Smith, gives him another book, just like Jibril comes down, talks to Muhammad, gives him the Quran. And then after Muhammad dies, you have these 2 different sects split off, and then some of them, they take these the sayings from the other guys, the hadiths, and they write those down, and those are not really like legit, but they still believe in them. So that gets deep into it. Anyway, you got Adam, you got Enoch, Noah, Hud, Shaleh, Abraham, that's like the big one. Lot, remember Lot and his daughters had sex with him, and wife got her in assault. Ishmael, this is like really Jewish stuff here. Isaac, Jacob. Oh, so they have like Arabic names. Noah is Nuh, Abraham is Ibrahim, Lot is Lut, Isaac is Ishak, Jacob is Jacob, Jacob, same kind of thing. Joseph, Yusuf, same kind of thing. Job, Ayub. So it's like, kind of blew my mind when I realized like all these biblical characters, they just have Arabic names too, but they're usually Jews, so they're going to be like Hebrew names, but the Arabs call them something else. So what did they went by when they were alive? I don't know. Were they even alive? I don't know. There's a guy named Jethro. So Moses is called Musa. I'm pretty sure one of the 12 caliphs of 12 Shiism was called Musa. So I saw some videos about that. I don't know if they were talking about actual Moses the prophet or if they're talking about this guy. Ezekiel, he's one of the few people I think that went, or is it Elijah? Ezekiel or Elisha? They went up to heaven bodily. Like they didn't die and go to heaven. They just went up to heaven with their living body like Jesus did. In a whirlwind, this guy went up. Melchizedek, very interesting character. He was another one. I thought he was on this list. He has an Arabic name too. And I'm getting into some really deep shit right now where like there's this guy I just learned about named Imam Hunayd. It says, I don't know, this is some kind of weird branch of Islam where they say Prophet Adam was spiritually initiated by Imam Hunayd. Just like Abraham was initiated by Imam Malik al-Salam. It was Melchizedek. So Hunayd would have to have existed before Adam, which goes against everything. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm trying to figure that out right now. That's where I'm at right now. But anyway, going out through this list, you got Jonah, Eunice. I'm going to get into that in a little bit because when we went to church the other day, that's what they were talking about. Zechariah, John, and then Jesus, Isa in Arabic. Jesus was called Isa, Prophet Isa. And they don't believe God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost are a trinity. They just believe God is God and Jesus was a prophet, like a really important prophet. Like Muhammad said, if you don't love Jesus, you can't be a Muslim. Like he's that important. And then you got Muhammad himself is number 25. And then you got the 12 caliphs after Muhammad. But then the first, second, and third ones, Muhammad wasn't related to him by blood. So there's no bloodline. Muhammad was related to Jesus and Adam and all these people. They're all like cousins or somebody married somebody and they had a kid. Jesus' mother Mary was the daughter of a guy who was the daughter of... I had this list, family tree, earlier. I don't have it up right now. But anyway, fascinating stuff right here. So anyway, Muhammad goes to heaven and he meets with all these guys. He meets with Jesus and Moses and Noah and Adam and all these people. And he comes back. And then he starts these like wars and raids against these other clans. And they start chasing him around. There's another miracle where he hides in a cave. And there's like a spider web with a spider in it and a bird's nest with a bird in it in front of the cave. When they go looking for him, they say, oh, there's this spider and a bird here, so he must not be in here because this cave, nobody's been in it for a while. So that kind of saves him. There's another time they go to kill him, and then his cousin Ali, who was like the fourth imam, I believe, he was like in his bed sleeping, and then God made him invisible, and Muhammad snuck out of the house invisibly so they didn't see him when they were trying to kill him. Something like that. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong on some of this. You can do some fact checking. Anyway, all this stuff is real cool. The miracles. You learn. It's like a whole new story of like biblical stuff. I always liked learning about Bible stuff. I just didn't believe it. So anyway, another thing my friend at work told me is the way your names work in the Middle East. It's your name, then your dad's name, and then your grandpa's name, and then your tribe's name. Maybe you can go on to 5 or 6 different names if you know your grandpa's great-great-grandpa or whatever. Anyway, for example, I feel like this should be like national news or something. People should know about it. Like when we say Saddam Hussein, Hussein is not Saddam Hussein's last name. Hussein is Saddam's father's name. His name is like Saddam Hussein Abd al-Majid al-Tikriti, because he's from Tikrit. He's from the tribe of Tikriti. No, he's from Tikrit. If you look it up, there's like several different versions of the way to say his name. But his tribe's name, he's descended from Ahmed bin Hussein Nasiruddin, who was the descendant of Hussein ibn Ali. So Ali, the 4th caliph, he had 2 sons, Hussein and Hassan. right? And then Hussein, the famous one, he died prematurely. Like, the Iraqis told him to come to Iraq from Saudi Arabia, and then they kill him. And then they keep his tomb there because when people go on these pilgrimages to, like, Mecca and to visit Hussein, they go to his tomb and they put money in it. And Iraq takes that money and they send it to Iran. And Iran has some other prophets' tombs there, and they get money. And it's like they keep all that money. And then they use it to fund jihad and terrorism and all this other stuff. Yemen, the Houthis, the Palestinians, Syrian rebels, Hezbollah, stuff like that. So, like, this is what I'm hearing anyway. I'm not saying this. Oh, this is old story about, like, what was it? The people that wanted to be buried next to Muhammad. His friend Abu Bakr was the second caliph, which pissed off all the Shia Muslims because they thought Ali should have been after Muhammad. So then, was it Abu Bakr or Uthman or Omar? I think it was Omar. He asked Muhammad's wife. Was that been Aisha at the time? Muhammad had 3 wives, Khadijah and another one, and then Aisha. And Aisha was 40 years after Muhammad died. She was still giving out hadiths, which they don't even like because they don't like her. But he went and he sent somebody. He was dying. I think Omar was dying. Maybe yeah. So he asked. I may be getting this wrong. Somebody was dying, and they asked her for permission to bury him next to Abu Bakr and Muhammad because they were best friends. Because the reason they want to be buried next to each other is on the last day when Al-Mahdi comes back. Not when Jesus comes back, but they believe Al-Mahdi. This is a whole other story. Oh my God, this story is crazy. On the last day of Revelation or whatever, when the end of time happens, they're all going to wake up out of their graves and they're going to look at each other. And they're going to be like, oh, here I am, or whatever. I don't know. They want to be buried next to each other, so when they come back to life, they'll be next to each other. And this is the craziest shit. Who was it he was talking about? Maybe it was Hussein or Muhammad. We're looking at somebody's tomb. And there's all these different mosques, too, that they have. Like, there's one in Baghdad that has a couple of people. There's one in Iraq that has somebody. And most of them are in Medina. But, there's this big green mosque. And, I think that's where I think I'm looking at Muhammad's tomb. It has, a green dome. And there's this window. And people go up to the roof and they clean the roof. And you can look down the window and you can see Muhammad's tomb. And somebody saw, a dead bird in there. And they're like, oh, my God, there's a dead bird in his tomb. We got to get rid of this dead bird. So they went and they got this little kid. And they talked to the elders. And the elders said, we're going to get this little kid. He can follow orders. We're going to lower him down on a rope. He's going to pick up the bird. He's going to get him right in and right out. They put the kid down there and he just runs off. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So they pull him back up finally. And this kid says, when I was down there was these 5 guys. One of them said his name was Muhammad. And in the middle of them, there was these grapes. He came back up. He had the dead bird and he had a handful of grapes. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's 5 people down in his tomb, alive. And they're talking. So, there was, these 4 people. After the 12th Imam. 12 are Shia. They believe in, the 12th Imam is Al-Mahdi. Muhammad Al-Mahdi. And, there's another sect that split off from the Shia, I think. 2 different versions of Shia. That, the Sunnah believe he hasn't been born yet, Al-Mahdi. The Shia believe he was born, and then when his father died, they took him off and they hid him somewhere. This is, in the year 980 or something like that. So this is, over 1,000 years ago. And they think he's still alive, somewhere, in a cave, underground, somewhere, just hiding. And, for 70 years, they had these 4 guys that was, talking to him, and he was sending them messages. And then after that, the last of the 4 guys died off. And then now he's, in this greater occultism, where he's just, I'm just waiting to come back. I'm just waiting to see, if it's time yet, if everybody gets fucked up enough, I'm going to come back and then, I don't know, just fix all the problems, and everybody's going to migrate to Medina and start over civilization, or, I don't know what actually happens. I haven't learned all that yet. because it's not like Christianity where everybody just like raptures out of their clothes and floats bodily into heaven naked. So that's a pretty wild story. So anyway, besides all of that, put all that beside, me and my friend, we've been talking about religion. He's always talking about like he wants to get married and find an American woman that's young enough to have babies because he wants to have kids. So he says we need to go to church. Everybody, you find women at church, and he's Christian now. It's like, I'm learning all this about Islam. I'm an atheist. I don't belong at church, the Christian church for sure. The place is going to burn down. But I've got this big Bible with 4 different translations in the Bible, and I've always wanted to go like speak at churches about atheism. I might as well go and like see what's going on, see what's happening up there. So we decided we're going to go on a Wednesday for like a Bible study. It's like, which church are we going to go to? So we go to Google and look at all the maps. And like, do I still have a picture up? No, okay, good. And we picked this church that doesn't even look like a church. It was started by a guy and his wife that just would like sit down and have Bible study in their house. And eventually they worked up to having a church, and now it's like pretty popular. And we're just going through the different churches on the website, and this one had like a guitar and drums and like music, and they were dancing and shit. And like, he's like, yeah, that looks pretty dope. Because he used to go to like these bars and stuff all the time. He likes watching people. So we're thinking we're going to go to this church, and he's going to like talk to some women and like find him a wife and stuff. So we go to this church. I got my big Bible in my hand, and they say, okay, you're here for the Bible study, right? You need to go around the corner to the back. There's one little tiny room where the men are going to have their Bible study, and the women will be in the main place where the music and stuff is. And we're all back there like, what are we doing? This is weird. So we have this Bible study with this group of men. They start talking about him all of a sudden. They want to know where he's from. They're like, oh, that's crazy. We've been talking about the story of Jonah and the book of Jonah and how like he had to go to Nineveh. And do you know where that's at? And I'm like, later on I looked it up. Nineveh is where Mosul is at now. And my friend, he'd actually been there. And Jonah, his tomb is there, supposedly. Like, you don't know if any of these tombs are real or if it's just like they put some relics there or something. I think somebody blew it up at one point in like 2014. One of these different terrorist groups like bombed it. Or my friend also, he'd been to Daniel's tomb and like Kirkuk or something. It was crazy. Like, they're studying about all this stuff in the Bible, and my friend has actually been to some of these places, so they like it. They're pretty fascinated with it. But they assume that I'm the Christian because I've got the Bible. Nobody asks me like if I've been baptized or anything, because they're trying to get as many people to get baptized as they can, because they had like 40 something last year, and this year they're already up to 50 something. And they have these little lights that you turn on whenever somebody gets baptized. They turn on these lights like a Christmas tree light on the wall. It's like a tracker, and they take your picture and stuff. And yeah, we're talking about Jonah. The story of Jonah, about the guy, he got in the belly of a fish for 3 days because he didn't want to go to the city and preach to him. And it's like killing me because like nobody's questioning this. Oh, also my friend, he's already been baptized by a Baptist church, but they think he's probably the one that needs to get saved, and they're all like talking him up, trying to get him to be a Christian. You guys, I'm just I want to tell them all this Muslim stuff I've been learning too, because it's fascinating. So yeah, Jonah, like, yeah, he's in the belly of a fish for 3 days. That's not a big whoop. Nobody even questions it because you learn that shit when you're a kid and you're indoctrinated in Bible school. You see pictures of like Jonah and the whale. You look it up, or Jonah and the fish. He's like inside the belly of this fish, just ribs above him, and then empty, no guts or anything. And then he's got like a bed and a little, like a lantern and a clothesline. He's in there fucking doing laundry, and I'm telling my friend this, he's laughing his ass off. I'm like, how do you live with a fish for 3 days? You like, wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, I'm still in this fish. Yep, there's guts over there, and there's the liver, and I'm just, I'm like, back to sleep at night. I'm waking up, there I am again. I'm in this fish. 3 days? How are you living? How do you breathe in a fish? It's not like you're floating on the surface and there's oxygen coming in, or it has like an air sac that you're just sucking in some air. Like, it doesn't make any sense. How does anybody believe this bullshit? I've seen like 70 or 80 pound catfish. That's not even big enough to hold a man. I know we're talking about, like, I think he started out in Spain, right? And he went to Mosul. So they're like, is there any kind of fish? There's no whales in that area, in the Mediterranean Sea, I don't think, or the Red Sea. What are we talking about? People just believe this. They don't even question it. That's the scary part. They don't even question it. He's asking, like, does anybody have any questions? Man, no, I'm good. Everybody was just like, yeah, 3 days in a fish. And there's another part where he tells all these people that they need to change their ways, and he goes and sits outside of the town, and a plant grows and provides shade for him. Like, I don't know what time period we're talking about, but like, trees don't grow that fast, or any kind of plants don't just grow and then they provide shade for you instantly. So there's like little miracles in the Bible that just nobody questions. They're just like, sure, okay, I guess. So that was Wednesday. So Wednesday we did the Bible study. So then Sunday, he wants to go to church in the morning when they have the music and the praying and the stuff. So I didn't take my Bible this time. I took my tablet. And I'm sitting there reading some book. I think it was like a sci-fi book or something. And he's over there crying because the preacher's giving this big speech and stuff. I'm like, and they want us to fill out this contact card with his name and address and stuff on it. He kind of got worried about that. Or that he was worried that like they were going to take his money out of his bank account or something. Like, how are they going to get that? Because when he came to the country, he did something, and they got his. I forgot how it worked. He went to like Tractor Supply or something, and they give him some information, and they took some money out. I don't remember what it was. Anyway. So then there was like, they played some music. It was like a really fancy church with like monitors, and they would give like a Bible verse and it would pop up on the monitor, and they would like overanalyze. Like the Bible verse was from Ephesians, where he says like, and you were dead in your sins and transgressions, or something like that. And they would say like, now look to your person to your left and point at him and say, and you, and say it like that. Now what is that? How does that make you feel? And the word dead here, what does the word dead mean? When you're dead, what does that mean? And the word the in your Trinity. And he kept like analyzing every word. Like, if you read the Bible like that, yeah, it's going to take you 10 years to read one book because you're analyzing every single word and every single phrase. And then, like, stuff like that annoys me. I think somebody else got baptized that day. Like, both times. Wednesday, somebody got baptized early, and then Sunday, somebody got baptized. And then there's this black guy. He was just, like, head banging. It was like he's doing this. Like, the preacher was talking. He was just, like, in the moment, feeling the Holy Spirit. I was hoping I'd see some holy rollers or some crazy shit. Some snake handling. I don't know, something. If we can go to different churches, we can just keep like experimenting. Because when I used to go to like a Church of Christ, and like if you want to go to a different church, it had to be a Church of Christ because that's your church. Now that I'm an atheist, I'm a free agent. I can go anywhere I want. I can just like experiment around. Let's see what's going on with this guy. Like, got some Pentecostal over here. Let's see what these. I got a Mexican Pentecostal church nearby I can go to. I want to see what's up with the Mexican Pentecostal. I want to find like a black church, see what that's about. Maybe go to like a Catholic church, see if there's some really Catholic-y stuff going on. I don't know. But, yeah, I'm just giving you a taste of what I've learned in Islam and stuff like that. But that's... Tonight's Wednesday. It's another Bible study night tonight. But he hasn't said anything about going, so... But I want to go, like, meet up with this preacher, or, like, my friend, she's got, like, a little church. I think that she may be, like, important there or something. I want to go and, like, talk to them about this stuff, because I feel like nobody knows any of this. Either they're full Muslim and they know all the Muslim stuff, they don't know any of the Christian stuff, or they're full Christian and they don't know any of the Muslim stuff. Not many people know, like, both sides of the story and how they connect, and it's pretty wild. Anyway, maybe I'll make another video when I compile some more information there.